Hey, what is up guys, this is Sleet, and today I want to run through some slightly advanced fighting mechanics with the sword you may or may not be aware of. So in your sword runs, have you found yourself being constantly interrupted while you're attacking? Do you find it awkward that the third hit in your attack combo is a thrust that sends your enemies away from you, making you have to get closer? How do I optimize my attack pattern to maximize damage potential? I think I have the answers, so stick around to find out. To preface, the sword is generally regarded as one of the hardest weapons in the game to use, alongside the spear, so don't feel bad if you have been struggling to clear runs with the sword. In my 32 heat clear series of videos, I saved the sword and spear for last for this very reason. When using the default attack pattern, the sword has a long attack animation, leaving huge openings during which enemies can hit you, interrupt your attack, and ultimately take you down. This is especially true against armored enemies, mini-bosses, and bosses who cannot be staggered. Of course, you can always wait for an opening, dash in, do a couple attacks, dash out, and repeat, but taking down enemies can take a long time that way, and it just doesn't feel good. In this video, I'm going to go over some techniques and combos that will simultaneously increase your damage potential and make it harder for enemies to hit you. Notably, these techniques and combos are a bit awkward if you're playing with mouse and keyboard, thus, I highly recommend using a controller. There's a reason why all the top Hades players use controllers. A final word before getting into the guide is that the aspect of Arthur is a special case, and the tips and tricks mentioned for the other sword aspects do not necessarily apply to Arthur. I will discuss the aspect of Arthur separately at the end of this video. If you're going to learn just one thing from the video, it is this: embrace dash strikes. Dash striking is the absolute best way to increase both your offense and defense for the sword. For the sword, your dash strike does the same damage as one attack, unlike certain other aspects like the spear and bow where you do reduced damage. Also, generally anything that enhances your attack will also apply to your dash strike, so you don't lose any damage potential. More than that, it actually increases your damage potential in several ways. First, dash strikes generally hit faster than normal attacks. You can chain dash strikes as fast as you can chain dashes. For example, if you get the greatest reflex boon from Hermes, you can chain 5 dash strikes before restarting the combo. Second, as you're dash striking in and out of an enemy, you're more likely to take advantage of backstab bonuses, which you can get from the Mirror of Night, the Blinding Flash boon from Athena, the Shadow Slash Hammer, and some Chaos boons. Third, there are some boons and hammers that only enhance your dash strike and not your regular attack. For example, the Double Edge Hammer for the sword is the absolute best hammer for the sword in my opinion. It causes your dash strike to not only hit twice, but also deal plus 20% damage. I find this hammer a must, especially when I'm speedrunning with the sword. Dash strikes can also be enhanced through certain chaos boons, I think by more than plus 75% damage at the higher rarities. Artemis's dash boon also causes an increase in dash strike damage by potentially more than plus 100%, although I would still advise getting Athena's dash for reasons I'll discuss just a moment. Finally, if you've been following my videos, I am constantly preaching about the best damage boost in the game coming from Hermes by getting the Hyper Sprint plus Rush Delivery boons. Dash strikes will constantly receive the benefit of this boost. Just as important as the increased damage output is the increased defensive properties of dash strike. By constantly dash striking through enemies, you will not only be evading head-on attacks, but also confusing your enemies as to where you are, which gives you extra time to deal more damage. Also, you can dash strike in any direction, and if needed, you can dash strike out of the way and go back in when it's safe to do so. But here is a very important distinction between dash strikes and normal dashes. You are not invulnerable when you dash strike. Though less likely, you can still get hit, and this is especially true of projectiles. Note that you can destroy most projectiles with your attack and special, but they can still hit you from your side and behind. This is where Athena's dash boon comes into play. When you dash strike, you get the benefit of both Athena's 360-degree deflect and whatever damage enhancing boon you have on your attack, which is insane. So while you're dash striking, you are, let's say, 70% invulnerable, which should give you a lot of confidence to go in and tear through enemies. However, be wise about that 30% and know when to use your normal dash for the 100% invulnerability. Possibly the best combo for the sword is this: special plus dash strike plus dash strike, or more dash strikes if you have the greatest reflex. For all the reasons I stated in the previous segment, this combo allows you to deal maximum damage while having increased defenses. This combo is exceptionally great on the aspect of Nemesis, which gives you a huge bonus critical chance every time you special. It is also great if you are running privileged status from the mirror and have status increasing effects on your attack and special. It is also great for the aspect of Poseidon to dislodge your cast stones, say if you're doing a cast build. Your dash strikes can be in the same direction, or if you're quick with your hands, you can dash strike in opposite directions or whatever direction you want. Try to dash strike in a way that allows you to get behind the enemy so that you can take advantage of the backstab bonus. You can also throw in a couple of regular attacks before restarting the combo. For thick boy enemies with big shields or high HP, you should also start your combo with your cast for the Boiling Blood for plus 50% bonus from the mirror. This next one is more of a technique than a combo. You can dash or dash strike at any time during an attack, special, or cast sequence, meaning you can do what fighting game pros call animation canceling. Thus, for example, you can use dashes to avoid enemies during your attack sequence, or you can use dash strikes to chain attack sequences. Or for the special plus dash strike combo, let's say your special animation is taking too long and you're about to get hit. You can dash or dash strike out of the way before your special lands. If you've ever had trouble landing your special because of the long animation and you get damaged and interrupted before you land it, here's a trick. You can start your special animation from a safe distance and then dash toward your enemy at the last moment to land the special. This works on all 4 of the sword weapon aspects, but the aspect of Arthur gets a special mention because you can dash twice, perhaps more, before the special lands due to the extended animation. Unfortunately, much of what I have gone through regarding dash strikes do not apply to the aspect of Arthur. As you are aware, the aspect of Arthur trades in speed for higher damage, and thus the developers made it so that you cannot release a quick chain of dash strikes like you can with the other aspects. For example, you cannot do the special plus dash strike combo, and you cannot dash strike out of an attack animation. However, that is not to say that you shouldn't embrace dash strikes for Arthur. On the contrary, dash strikes are core to properly playing the aspect of Arthur, especially, let's say, for speedrunning. That is because while Arthur's attacks and specials hit harder than other aspects, they have significantly longer attack animations. Because of that long animation, you are vulnerable during that time and can be interrupted, and thus you have to be wise about when to use the full attack sequence or special. That is where the dash strike comes in. It's a completely separate tool in the toolbox, and it's very sharp, especially with the double-edged hammer and the Artemis critical strike boon. So sharp that it is possible for it to out DPS your full attack sequence. On top of the damage, the dash strike has a much shorter recovery animation, so you can quickly jab an enemy while dashing to avoid getting hit, rinsing and repeating, making it the superior tool in my opinion. Note that the button press is slightly different, whereas with other aspects, you push down dash and attack at the same time. For Arthur, there's a little bit of a delay between pushing down the dash button and the attack button. Notwithstanding, there is a time and place for both. Deciding when to use the full attack sequence or using the dash strikes will require some wisdom, largely based on how many enemies you are taking on at a time, how they are positioned, and how safe it is. For example, when targeting single enemies, it will almost always be better to dash strike. For targeting a group of enemies that are clumped up, it may be better to use the full attack sequence to take them all out at the same time. If you're going to use the full attack sequence, lay down your special aura to slow down enemies and their projectiles. Note that your attack and special can destroy most enemy projectiles, so don't be afraid to start swinging at incoming purple orbs. Also, I mentioned earlier that you can prime your special, right? Well, with Arthur, you can also prime your attacks. You can do multiple dashes in between each swing of the sword. Priming your attack is often necessary too, not only to start your attack sequence from a safe zone, but also to maneuver to keep up with your moving enemies. This concludes the guide on some advanced techniques and combos for the sword. Hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a like and also share your own sword tips in the comments. Thank you, and see you guys in the next one.